Well, welcome to another show of Business Ahas. Today's an incredibly exciting day for me. Actually started back for me in the even 70s and 80s. My parents used to take us kids to Manzanita Raceway, which is in southern Phoenix, where it was a little dirt oval track. And over the course of time, we evolved and started going out to PIR, which is Phoenix International Raceway. It was owned by a guy named Buddy Job. Buddy started PIR back in, I think, the 60s. Yeah. And he was a very much of an icon in the community for Arizona and growing NASCAR, essentially, where has it grown where it is today. And then so happens, in my first career working in the pre-hospital as an EMT and a paramedic, I had the opportunity to be out at the NASCAR races, and we called it moonlighting or overtime shifts to be able to make some extra money when we were working. And I had the opportunity to meet Buddy Job, a bunch of the race car drivers, kind of had fun with that over the course of the years. And I always remember too when they did the tire testing, which when they were not doing races at Phoenix International Raceway, which is now NASCAR. They would rent the tracks out to various drivers who would rent the track for the entire day. They would test their tires. They would test different cars. And so back then, we were the person in charge of letting people in, and when their race cars weren't going, so people could actually cross over because there was no tunnel that went underneath of the racetrack. Well, truth be known, now there's a big tunnel that goes underneath. There's been a tremendous change. And part of that change is leadership. And I'm very excited today to be able to introduce my dear friend, Latasha, who is president of Phoenix Raceway, part of NASCAR. And so the Phoenix International Raceway, now part of the family of the NASCAR family. And it's really excited to be able to have somebody here that really kind of embraces what's going to be the new day for NASCAR. And just coming up here on November 8th through the 10th, which you'll hear more about from Latasha, I'm sure, today, is the National Championship. And the National Championship, we're expecting over 125,000 people to be there. They have 6,500 spots dedicated to RVs, and they've all been sold out. So this is going to become like RV Haven. And then their headliner is going to be Nelly. So Nelly is going to be performing as part of the event that's there. And literally, this particular location, which is in the Southwest Valley, we're just outside of Avondale, or it's actually in Avondale city limits. It actually becomes one of the largest cities in Arizona for a weekend. So it literally goes from 0 people, well, your staff, Latasha, but it goes from essentially 0 people to 125,000 people literally overnight. That's just coming up here, and super excited about that. So with that, I'm going to introduce Latasha. She's going to give a little bit of a background of her role at NASCAR now, a little bit about her history, and then we'll get into the aha moment. But Latasha, I am so excited.
Thank you.
You're a dear friend. We met long before, actually. You got your job at NASCAR when you were working with a fellow buddy of ours.
Yeah.
And it's been great to become, I'm going to say, more friends with you.
Yes.
We don't work really together professionally, other than me being just a huge fan.
Oh.
And it's great. And so I also appreciate you invited me out for I'm going to call it the VIP tour.
Yes.
And I'm a car guy, as you well know.
Yes.
So I show up there in one of my fancy cars, and you're like, don't speed. You can't speed on the track.
That's right.
And then but I had a super time and really appreciated the tour, and how much has changed there has been so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here, Jim. I really appreciate being here with you. Any time with you is a great time. So I appreciate that. And I am truly just honored to be the president of NASCAR's Phoenix Raceway. Like you said, it's been around. This year we're celebrating 60 years. So can you believe that? 60 whole years. So as you mentioned, Buddy Job opened the track in 1964. And then here we are, present day 2024, celebrating that 60 years later. And back in about 2018 is when NASCAR, if you will, took over the track and bought it from Buddy. And so it's just been a great change. As you said, you came out to the Raceway to take a tour, a VIP tour. And as you noticed then, from when you were there to what it is now, we did a complete renovation of the Raceway. I mean, we even moved the start-finish line. Our grandstand seats look way different, but we really invested holistically into the track there in the city of Avondale and made it brand new. So it's been an amazing thing.
Yes, it is the fastest oval in the world.
Yes.
Yes, so
it
I'm sorry,
is
fastest
1 mile
oval
Yeah.
in the world.
Yes.
And it was really interesting being on the inside where the banking turns are.
Yep.
You can barely stand.
That's right.
It's such a big turn that comes up
Yep.
into the air. I don't know what the grade is.
Yeah.
But it's just so significant to realize, which makes it so fast because
That's
of
right.
the inertia of the car coming around. Right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, we have a great incline there. I mean, you have the, if you will, the dog leg that's there at the Raceway as well. And like you said, when you're out there walking on it, it looks like it's flat, but it definitely is not
No.
as you're trying to walk up the hill to get to the wall. So like I said, it's just been a really great thing to have been able to renovate. And everything local. I'm a local girl. I love everything about Arizona, born and raised here. But we used a local company when we renovated in Oakland Construction, who was really a phenomenal partner in redesigning, rebuilding the Raceway. So it's been a great thing.
Congratulations.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Let's back up the train. Now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your early career.
Yes.
We'll kind of lead into where we are today, and then we'll get to your aha moment.
Yeah.
Which I'm super excited to hear.
Yes.
Tell us about your early career and kind of what led you where you are today.
Yeah, here's just a funny story. When I tell this, people are like, "Why are we starting like when you were 16?" But I do have to say this. So I actually started my career very early. I went to Trevor Brown High School in the West Valley. Yes, West Sider. I still live in the West Side because my parents are still there and they help us with our kids.
There you go.
Grew up there, and at my Title I, if you will, high school, Trevor Brown, I was part of DECA. So with DECA and the Phoenix Urban League, they were going to select 4 students to work at an organization, a great organization, which most people know, called Charles Schwab. So I was one of 4 people selected to work at Schwab when I was 16 years old. There were 100%. So there were 3 of us that were going to be stockbrokers, and then 1 was going to be in people services. I knew for sure I did not want to be a stockbroker because I could barely add on a calculator, right? So I was like, I don't want to do that. But whatever people services is, I'll take option B. And that's how I got hired. And honestly, I stayed at Schwab from the time I was in high school all the way through my undergrad at ASU. That is what propelled my career. I was there for 7 years.
So from 16 on.
Yes.
All the way through graduated from college.
Oh, yes. Wow. Yeah. So Schwab was a phenomenal organization, worked with our schedules. And then, I only wanted the job because there was one thing my parents would not pay for, which is my fake fingernails. And I was like, well, I'm getting a job, right? And so most people would go,
gotta have those nice
gotta
nails.
have my nails done, right? And so, but most people would get like if you will, a starter job, like maybe something retail, which I knew that probably wasn't good for me because I love to shop so much. I'd probably spend my whole check instead of on my nails at the store. But I was just really fortunate to have been selected. But honestly, it did teach me as well how to save money, how to invest. I graduated from college and purchased my first home all in the same week at 22 years old. But that was because I was at such a phenomenal organization teaching me those things, to do for your life. And so that's what started my career. Starting my career at Schwab, then unfortunately 9/11 happened. And at that time, once 9/11 happened and we were going through a market downturn, I was so young, I said, 22 years old, and I was in HR. People services translates to human resources. And I was in a space to where we were laying people off. And I'm 22. I'm like, I'm trying to party here. And I'm not trying to tell people this horrific news that their whole life is about to change, right? And at 22, you don't realize that if you get laid off, actually, there's another door that opens. But in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, their whole life is over, right?
And very few people do.
Right. I didn't know that,
it's devastating.
Yeah, I was devastating. It didn't happen to me, but it was devastating for me to be part of the crew, if you will, telling people that they weren't going to have a job. So ironically, that Schwab, so that network of people, so I left Schwab. I went to Wells Fargo. I worked at Wells Fargo for a few years, but it was because of someone that worked at Schwab that reached out to me and said, hey, I have this amazing opportunity here. Would you consider? Then my next opportunity, where I spent majority of my career, which was USAA. I was there for almost 14 years. Same exact thing. So the person that I worked for at Schwab in Human Resources, she is the one who reached out to me for the USAA opportunity as well.
No.
100%. So I mean, I'm like,
so it was relationships.
It's relationships. That is what propelled my career. Truly, is relationships and my network. This isn't a normal thing for anyone and everyone to happen, but for me, I really have been super fortunate that most, if not all, of the opportunities that I have received has been because of someone reaching out to me to ask, hey, would you consider taking on this opportunity or learning more about this job?
What was her name?
Lisa DiMatteo is the lady. Yeah. And so Lisa is an amazing, Lisa since retired from USAA, but Lisa.
Oh, she went over to USAA as
yes,
well.
Yeah.
So she was
at
Schwab
there.
with you.
Yep. She was at Schwab with
That's
me.
it,
She
Lisa?
left. Yep.
Gotcha.
She left Schwab, went to USAA, was at USAA for years and retired right before I left. And so she's just she was just a great human being and just a great mentor.
Cool.
Yeah, and then obviously when you and I met, I was at Bell Bank as well. You know, that's
our
phenomenal friend Kyle Kennedy.
Yes.
Kyle is just a unique, genuine human being. I mean, the people at Bell Bank, they don't make them any nicer than that.
No. He's not genuine and wonderful human. Yeah. It's Nikki.
Yeah. Now that is 100% accurate.
Yes. His wife.
His wife. But
yes.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Last week I was at Paul's Car Wash for the Big Brothers Big Sisters. While I was there, this young man walks up to me and he had this huge smile on his face, super nice kid. And he's like, I am so sorry, but are you Latasha Causey? And I'm like, yes, that's me. And so he's like, you worked with my dad. I'm like, okay, who's your dad? And he's like, Kyle Kennedy. I'm like, oh my God, it was Shane. He's like the nicest human as well.
Is he still a teen or is he 20 now?
He's like in his 20s now. Yeah. So he was doing security for Paul's Car Wash. Yes, 100%. So we took a photo. I'm still super close and very connected with Kyle, the team at Bell Bank, also the owner of Bell Bank, Michael Solberg, as well. They're just really good people. And so while I was at Bell, Julie Giese, who was the previous track president at Phoenix Raceway, Julie and I actually met on a panel for the the Phoenix Business Journal. It was a women's panel. Julie had been in Arizona about 4 days. She moved from Daytona to Arizona.
Oh, my stars.
And Ray Shea from the Business Journal reached out and said, hey, Latasha, there's a woman that's running the Raceway, first woman to run the Raceway ever. And she needs friends, right? Like she needs to be connected in the community.
So Ray introduced you to?
Ray introduced us.
And you were on a panel with her?
With Julie, yep. Okay. But before the panel, Ray's like, there's one person, can you please just meet Julie? And you know me, I'm like, if Julie's a great person, of course I'm going to, make friends with her. And of course I want her to be connected in our community as well. Mm-hmm. That, Jim, was my only, all I was trying to do is make connections for Julie. And I did as much as I could to help her build her network in a very short time, because she is the one who renovated the track. She was going through, she wasn't doing like a capital campaign or anything like that. She just really wanted people.
But she wasn't homegrown.
She wasn't homegrown, right? She wanted people to know, and she wanted to be able to tell people the Phoenix Raceway story. And so I was just supporting her for the 4 years that she was here and doing that. And I'd never been to a NASCAR race until I met Julie.
No.
Yes. I went to the race, honestly, to just support her. She reached out and she said, you've been doing all these connections for me. Can you just at least come to my race? I'm like, of course I'll be there.
Where is it?
Yeah. What is it? Where is it? I knew where the Raceway was because not far from my parents' house. But when I went, there is nothing like a NASCAR experience. I was honestly blown away. I could not. And of course I get the whole VIP treatment, right? But I feel like there's a VIP in everything at NASCAR. There is something truly for everyone.
Mm-hmm. My favorite part of how do you summarize NASCAR? It's whoa, 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 whoa. And you talk for 4 seconds.
Yep.
And then it's whoa, 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 whoa. Right?
Yes.
Unless you're in those little soundproof suites up above.
That's right.
And you're like, well, I'll have another glass of wine.
Yes. Or whatever you'd like to drink.
Absolutely.
Yes, your Busch Light beer or whatever it is.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
But yeah, so Julie is the reason why I'm at NASCAR. She left to run our Chicago street race. So Julie is the president of Chicago, and Julie reached out. So it's so funny. Julie and we had became really good friends, and she didn't have any family here or anything. So we would do monthly dinners or try to get them in as much as possible. So if you will, call it a Thursday. Julie was at my house on Thursday for tacos and tequila, even though it wasn't Tuesday, but that's what we do on any day. And so we're, doing our thing. And if you will, Monday morning, I'm rolling into, I remember this clear as day. I'm rolling into ASU alumni board meeting. And I get, you get the Phoenix Business Journal notifications that like major news has happened. It was major news that
breaking news.
Yes, breaking news. So it was breaking news that Julie Giese was moving to Chicago, and she didn't say anything because she was under an NDA. So I'm like, WTF? And as I'm reading this, she's calling me, right? And so I'm like, I have have so many emotions in the moment. She's like, listen, first of all, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. I was under NDA. We could talk about we can go through all the.
But she did call you.
Yes, she was like, we can go through all the emotions, but she said, what I'm really calling you for is before you say no, can you please just consider the opportunity to fill my shoes to be the president of the Raceway? And I'm like, WTF again?
Okay, hang on a second. Back up the train. Yeah. She reached out on the phone.
Yes.
After you're reading the article.
Yes.
She's leaving.
Yes.
And she's like, would you consider filling my shoes for me?
Yes. And I'm like, Julie, first of all, I've never been in sports. She knows I love sports. I've never been in sports. I don't know much about NASCAR besides
You can drive a car.
Yeah, I can drive a car. I got that part, but that's about it. And so, I honestly, I was shocked, and I had so many like emotions like in the moment because I was really upset that she was actually leaving.
Mm-hmm. It didn't tell you.
It didn't tell me.
I thought it was your friend.
Yeah, I'm like, I thought we were besties. No, but I honestly almost just shut the door on the opportunity. It was more of an immediate like, no, but I'm sure I can help you find somebody to take on this opportunity. And really, I remember after my board meeting, I called my husband. I was like, you're not going to believe this. Like, first of all, Julie's leaving. Second of all, she asked if I would take on the opportunity. I'm like, I told her no. And he's like, why would you do that? Why would you shut the door on an opportunity before you even
know what it is?
He was like, you have so many like mentees and all these people. He was like, you would never in a million years tell one of your mentees
to say no.
To say no before they've even considered it.
You don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so I hate when he's right. But he was right. So it's been one of the best things I could have done truly for my career is saying yes to this opportunity.
Well, it's about people.
Yes.
It isn't about twisting wrenches.
No, it isn't. It truly is about people. It's about the community. Honestly, when I was going through the process, after that phone call with Julie, there is a true process of being interviewed, all those things. And I interviewed NASCAR probably much more than they interviewed me. I had a lot of questions. I'm the first Black woman to run a raceway in NASCAR's over 75-year history. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't a token, right? Like, don't sign me up to do this if I can't do what Latasha can do. Because you're reaching out to me for a reason.
Because I'm not going to be a token.
I'm not going to be a token.
Well, if they know Latasha, she's not going to be a token.
Right. That's exactly right.
Right.
But you have to have those conversations up front. I wanted to be honest so that I was authentic in them knowing exactly who and what they were getting when I came to the Raceway. If you're going to hire me, please don't hire me and tell me these are the things that you are, this is your box of things that you can do. If you're hiring me because you truly want something different, then I will be the person, and this will be the place for me. And so after all of those conversations, truly, I felt it was the perfect place at the perfect time.
Okay.
Yes.
Ready for the big one?
Yes. What's the big one?
Biggest aha moment. Think about your career.
Yeah.
This whole story, and I think it hit me, is Lisa. Mm-hmm. And how much a human can have an influence on another human to remember you.
Yeah.
Kind of what you stand for.
Yeah.
And then this incredible opportunity as you grow in your career to meet her, and she leaves, and you were WTF in it, and then not saying no and having to admit, even though you don't want to admit, that your husband was right.
Yeah.
But now the biggest thing you would say, my gosh, in my entire career, this is like the thing really made me understand, or like this eye-opening of aha.
Yeah.
What was it?
I've had so many, even like this current situation, but there is something really particular that stands out for me. I said I spent majority of my career at USA, another phenomenal
14 years,
yes,
right? Yeah.
yes, phenomenal organization. I was always like one of the youngest people, one of the only women in executive leadership, and I was the regional site leader for the location here. And I had just started in that job. I have two boys, as I mentioned earlier. So I have at the time, now they're teenagers, but at the time, my youngest son, he was 3 years old, just turned 3. It was Memorial Day. I will not forget it. So it's Memorial Day weekend. We were at my parents' house on, Sunday for the barbecue, because
Sure.
we always have barbecues,
Sure.
even if it's not a holiday. But on Monday, I was going to have my intern starting, right? And so I had a plethora of interns that were starting for me and my team. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave the kids here because I needed to go home, and I need to go home and straighten my hair. So it would take hours to straighten my hair, right? Like it's like a thing, right? Like especially for Black women, right? It would take me 2 to 4 hours to do that. It's like a whole process,
No,
right? Yes,
really?
yeah, 100%. So
Oof.
whole process, about 2 to 4 hours in order. But in my mind, it was I got to go to work tomorrow. The only way people will take me serious is
to
if
prep appropriately to have straight hair.
is to look like everyone else, right? So my kids are there. I leave to go home, and then I was still straightening my hair at midnight. So I get a phone call at midnight, and at midnight nobody is calling to say, "Hey,
How's
how you
the
doing?"
weather?
Yes,
How's the weather?
something's
Yeah.
wrong. So it's my dad, and I'm like, something's definitely wrong, because my dad, dads don't really talk on the phone, especially not at midnight.
No.
He calls and he says, "Hey, I need you to come back because I'm pretty sure Mason, who is my youngest son, has broken his arm." And in the
And
moment,
it's midnight.
yes, it's midnight. I'm like, I had so many questions. First of all, why is he still up, right? And why are all the kids still up? Anyway, I get to my parents. Mason has definitely broken his arm.
And he's 3.
He's 3, but like his birthday's in April, so he just turned 3. It was May, right? And so he's not like he's still, there's a transition between 2 and 3. Like he's still a 2. Like he's a baby.
Yeah, not a big boy yet.
Yeah, he's not a big boy yet, right? So I'm probably one of the calmest people in the world until it comes to my kids. And so of course I get there and I'm like hysterical because I'm like, what in the world, right? Like, why did this happen? All the things. And remember, I had interns, right, to start the next day.
And your hair was straight.
And my hair was straight. But I never miss work. Like it takes a lot for me to miss work, right? So I have to call in on Monday, right? I call my boss. I'm like, hey, listen.
Here's what's going on.
Here's what happened.
Mason broke his arm.
Yes, and and he was like, I mean, oh my God, yeah, you have to do what you have to do. But for me, I was like, I got to get back to work. Yeah, I take Mason. Mason has to have, he doesn't have to have surgery, but he has to have multiple things before I can go back to work. So by the time I come back to work, it's Thursday.
Oh my God.
And my hair is a disaster because it's been a week, right? Trying to figure out my kids. So it's back curly, right?
You're family first.
Family first.
Sure.
So I'd never gone to work with like curly hair. So on when I go back to work on Thursday, I'm like, here I am. I'm here with all my things. And my boss said, he was like, oh my God. He was like, I love your hair like that. And I said, oh, you do? Because like I change it to make sure that I fit in, like, all these things. And he specifically said, why would you want to be someone else?
Why?
And so that for me, I don't know what it was about. I mean, he was like the man. I call it
one comment.
Yes.
Why would you want to be like everybody else?
Why would you want to be like everyone else? And so I just like remembered that moment. And like from that moment on to not be everyone, I never straightened my hair again after that. And to not be like everyone else, like authentically, like it just helped me become into like who I was. I feel like for all of us, there's like a moment, there's like a thing that happens. And for me, it was that thing. It was just him supporting me. And the thing that probably was my biggest insecurity, right, was that like, hey, I can't show up looking crazy like this, right? But in his mind, he was like, oh my God, that's like the best thing ever. And I don't know why you would even...
What was your authentic self?
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, so young and one of the youngest people, there at the leadership table and all of those things. I'm like, no one looks like me. Like no one looks like me. So I need to look like them.
And what's wrong with that?
Right.
According to your boss. What was his name?
Yeah, his name is Brandon. So Brandon's still at USA, one of the best human beings as well, and just like a really good leader. Just a great leader.
Great leader.
Yes.
So that aha moment was a message for you to be your authentic self.
Yes.
Don't try to be something to fit in.
Yes.
Be you.
Just be you.
And if you don't like me for who I am,
Mm-hmm.
have a nice day.
That's right. I don't know what it was from there, Jim, but I swear my career just propelled from that moment on. I think my attitude was different.
Like a light went on,
Like,
maybe?
yes, like this, like it just went on. Everything. I mean, I had so many opportunities. I started serving on all these nonprofit boards. There's so, I love the community. And so there was just so many things.
You do. I really agree.
Yes, there are just so many things that just opened up and so many opportunities that opened up for me when I stopped like just trying to check a box and be, if you will, probably like everyone else.
Interesting. So what's your advice to that 16-year-old, 22-year-old, 27-year-old,
Yeah.
35-year-old
Yep.
on to be yourself?
Yeah. Well, you got to stop at 35 because I'm still 25, really.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Sure you are.
Exactly. My kids get older, but for some reason
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah, because there's certain, that whole self-expression.
Yes.
At what point is it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at what point you're like, you know what? You do you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
boo. Hey, boo. You
Yeah.
do you.
You do you, right? You do you. Like I said, I mean, I just truly feel like when you have that ability and when you are able to do that and you are able to do you, I think it's an amazing thing. I think I would tell my 16-year-old self, my 25-year-old self, like, just hold on, it's coming. Like, whatever it is, it's coming. I think that when we're young, we are always in this like impatient mode of like, oh, this is really great, but like, then what? Like, what else? I always have been motivated to do more, been motivated to do all these things. I'm still like that. But now I'm like, I know now that it's going to be things that I want to do, not things that I have to do.
Interesting.
Mhm.
I would agree. So back it up for a second.
Yeah.
Talk about Lisa, and we
Yeah.
talked about the relationship that you had with her, and when she was at Schwab,
Mhm.
and then recruited you to come to USAA.
Mhm.
It was because of the relationship with her.
Yep.
And then fast forward when you saw Brandon on Thursday, and he said because of his relationship with you,
Yep.
he felt comfortable
Yeah.
to say, "Your hair looks great."
Yes.
You're like, "Are you kidding me?" He goes,
Yeah.
"This is fantastic. This is you."
Yes.
But maybe, do you think he might have said it? I'm sorry. Do you think he may have not have said it if he wasn't already having a level of respect for each other?
Yeah. I don't know that he would have said it, right? Like, because
Interesting.
I mean, I think it's,
Because you built this rapport.
yeah. Well, and you have to think it's you got to be so careful about the things when they're personal, right? Like, I mean, to talk about something like you're in a corporate environment, especially a militant environment like USAA, right? You have to be careful on the things that you say about your presentation and all those things. They have to be
How you present
yourself,
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
So you have to be very careful about that. But yes, we had built a phenomenal relationship and very open relationship to be able to say, and trust me, if he would have been like, he would have said like, yeah, he wouldn't have said you need to comb your hair, but he would have probably felt comfortable enough as well to say, something like, if it weren't professional, or if there was, if he had feedback, he would have given it.
So you built it in your own self and your own relationship building world, for him to have the level of trust with you and the comfort level with you to be able to share with you what he thought.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's
fascinating.
Yes.
Interesting. All about straightening hair.
Yeah. It's a big thing. It's definitely a thing. And
2 hours?
2 to 3. Now, and if you go to a salon, it's even longer.
Mercy.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a process. And then you hope it stays.
I'm just glad I have hair left.
Me too, after all the straightening.
So back to my question I said a second ago about the advice you would give to that 16, 22, 27-year-old. What would you say to them about the authentic self? And now, obviously, with self-actualization and people expressing themselves and deciding what gender they're going to be and
all the things. What
are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think at my 16-year-old self, I think I would have said, be patient, right? There will be a time when you will come into your own and you'll be okay with that, whatever your own is.
So timing is important.
Timing is important, 100%. I mean, we talk basic things about timing, maturity, the right place, the right time, all of those types of things. If I wasn't at USAA at the time, if I wasn't there with Brandon, I don't know. I don't know where my career would have been. I don't know if I didn't take that opportunity when I was 16 years old to even take on the Schwab opportunity, I don't know that I would have had all of these amazing career opportunities either. So it's really about, at 16 years old, I was still in a space where I would always sign up for things, right? Like I always want to be the person that gets like a project or like try it out, like those types of things. And I was taking those risks back at 16 years old. And to be honest, I'm still taking them now because I took the risk to be in this role at NASCAR as well, being the only person like me in this role as well. And it was a risk to change.
Why did you say no?
I said no.
Why'd you tell her no?
Yeah, I probably said no for multiple reasons. One, I'm like, no, I knew in my heart of hearts that I could do it. But in the moment, I'm like, can I do that? Like, I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't even know what that means or what that entails. So I was there. So there was a moment of like, not confident that I could do it. Right. And then there was also
at 25.
Yeah. At 25 years old. And then I immediately went to all the things, right, that you think of that NASCAR and the preconceived notions that I had about NASCAR, honestly, that there's no one there that is like me. And that is so far from the truth, right? Like I had no idea what NASCAR was like. No, there might not be somebody like me in this role, but NASCAR is extremely diverse, from the teams to NASCAR themselves. I mean, it's just a great place to be in from our fan base, right? Fans have been so welcoming, so amazing to me personally. It's just been an amazing thing, but I just assumed the opposite.
Interesting. Does Lisa know the impact?
Julie.
No, does Lisa know the impact you had upon her? She had upon you.
I think Lisa does. I mean, I think that Lisa does. I did every opportunity I would get to tell Lisa thank you in my own way, whether it was thank you, Lisa, or whether it was just the time that I spent with Lisa while she was at USAA. I did everything I could to be around Lisa D.
Does Brandon know?
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, Brandon definitely.
You've told him the story.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He knows the story. He definitely knows the story. And Brandon as well. I mean, he himself, he's still at USAA, just majorly leading a huge business line at USAA. Brandon is a lot of people's favorite leader. And we have all told him as much as possible why we feel that way. It's the way he makes people feel. It's also the way he pushes people. He knows he can see things in you that you can't see in yourself. And he knows he could push me differently than he could push you, right? He'll get to know you and he'll say, yeah, you're really good at this. And so he can figure out a way to put you in settings that you might be uncomfortable with, but he knows you're going to thrive.
Fascinating. Mm-hmm. And then what do you think Julie thinks now?
Yeah, well, I talk to Julie on a regular basis.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, she's
you replaced her.
Yeah, she's like a mentor to me, and she's just been like the biggest supporter. If not for Julie, I mean, I tell her all the time, like, oh my God, if not for you, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have these opportunities. And she always tells me, no, it's you. You said yes to the opportunity and now it's what you've done with it. She's like, this has nothing to do with me. And I beg to differ. It has everything to do with Julie, which if not for her, again, like I said, I wouldn't be there.
No.
She
saw something.
She saw something, right? She knew what this market needed and what we needed from a NASCAR perspective. And, she's just been there like a little lucky charm, like whatever you need,
yeah.
I got you covered.
I wonder if Brandon didn't say that, would it happen to somebody else? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Because of you. I mean, you've built those relationships.
Yeah.
It wasn't for what you did with Lisa. She wouldn't have come back to you.
Yeah, that's right.
You wouldn't have grown the relationship with Brandon. He wouldn't have come back to you.
Yeah.
And clearly Julie's not going to come to you and say, I want you to replace me in my job.
Yeah.
And it's because of your character.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yes, I would agree with that. I tell when I'm talking to students or young people who are like just starting out in their career, that's one thing that I do always tell them is, as younger folks, like, oh, well, as soon as I graduate, I want to go do this. Like, I want to be the CEO of the company. Like, well, you got to work for it, but you got to let your work. You got to let your actions speak for you versus all the words that you're saying. And I think that I did that, in all of the positions that I had, which is why people are like, well, we know what she can do because we've seen it, not because she said it. It was really because we've seen what she's actually been able to accomplish. And so I certainly firmly believe that. Hey, we got to work for it.
I love it. So would you say that the words on the AHA would be your authentic self?
100%.
And even though it takes somebody to push you to do that, but the answer, I think I go back to it again one more time, is win.
Yeah.
You just don't know sometimes.
You don't know.
But there'll be a day, there'll be a time
yes.
that you need to be your authentic self.
Yes. And you'll just know. You'll have that aha moment, and you'll know that that's something that you can go back on and be like, in my heart of hearts, I know that was the moment that got me out of my, you need to be like everyone else.
Wow. Latasha. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
No, I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
I loved it because I think that people need to understand it isn't about my color of my skin.
Yeah.
It isn't about where I grew up, even though we're West Siders.
Yes.
I went to Alhambra.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, so we're West Siders.
Yep.
Together, and growing up in this community is they say it's the smallest big town in America. We're 5 million people.
That's right.
In our county.
That's right.
And I am also super excited about the upcoming championship race. I'm sure you are as well.
I am.
Probably not working too many hours now.
Oh no, we got it in the bag. We don't need to work.
Yeah.
No.
125,000 people.
Yes, 125,000 people. And I mean, the team at Phoenix Raceway, the team that Julie put in place, that she just kind of put me in a position to where the team is already amazing. I've added a few folks to the team, but they've just been phenomenal. And so, if not for the team, we wouldn't be prepared and ready for championship weekend.
Yes.
And so we're looking forward to it. November 8th through the 10th. So racing starts on Friday, and we crown 4 champions. So every series has a champion that will get crowned here in Arizona. And we're so excited because we were only supposed to have championship in Phoenix for 3 years. This is year 5.
Yeah, you had mentioned that.
So this is year 5 for us. So we're excited. And you know what? It's coming back again next year. We've already announced that. So we're super excited about that as well. And like you said, we're just holistically looking forward. Our campers actually move in on Monday of race week.
Really?
Yes.
That early?
That early.
Wow.
And then they can stay until the Monday after race week.
Yeah, I saw the countdown at the airport.
Yes, this is our first time doing the countdown.
That was really great. Yeah, I presume Kimet had something to do with that.
Yeah. So, yes, Mayor Kate, actually. So this community, I am telling you, Jim, has been just truly phenomenal with me, particularly being in this role. Mayor Kate, as soon as I got the opportunity, she posted it like on Twitter, and then she sent me a note. Literally the day it was announced, she's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And she sent me a note and said, whatever I can do, you let me know. And she said she had never been to the Raceway. So I email her back, I message her back the next day, and I'm like, hey, I'd love to have you out. She's like, perfect, let's work on it. She was there within 2 weeks of me starting, and she came out, did a tour, and she said, hey, whatever you need. I'm like, you always do all these great things for like the Super Bowl and all that stuff. She's like, you can have it too. So that was our first time doing the countdown clock because Mayor Kate gave us that opportunity. And awesome. So that's just one of many examples of people in this community showing up to support me and the Phoenix Raceway team.
Because of relationships.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
It's great having you.
Thank you.
And I'm at awe. If you think about from a perspective of people, when they make a decision to be their authentic self, I bet you maybe didn't think about today that she was going to talk about the fact she straightens her hair and taking you 2 hours, right. but taking 2 hours of time of her schedule every single day to be something that wasn't her authentic self, and it took one person, Brandon, to really convince her that you need to be your authentic self. And whenever that is for wherever you are, and if you aren't your authentic self, when should you become that authentic self? And when should you make that decision to do that? And the advice that you take from others and building those relationships, like Latasha did in the beginning with Lisa, evolved into Brandon, and obviously Julie coming to her for the opportunity, and now having one of the most incredible opportunities in the country to be the first African American female leading any race car track that NASCAR's ever owned in the history of NASCAR, right?
That's right.
I mean, so there's something to be said about that as a whole, and it's us really believing, even though you don't have a large knowledge base of the rule of driving race cars, but it's all about people and making change.
That's right.
Well, thank you. Great having
you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Jim.
Yes. Until next time, our next Business Aha. This has been fantastic. Hope you all enjoyed it. I'm having Latasha on and be able to talk about, essentially, being that authentic self and who you are as an individual, and you choosing to be you as opposed to somebody telling you to be something different, and always choosing to be the person that is the truth to you. And I think that's huge. So until next time, thanks everybody.